I hope everyone hears me. Do you want to confirm that, Michael? Because
yes,
I'm not able to obviously hear them because I think you're showing the screen on your big screen. I'm not sure how it works.
Yes.
But thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
I can hear you.
My name is Gayatri, and I'm from uLaw Practice Management, legal practice management firm. We are a Canadian-based practice management for legal practitioners. I'm here for next 1 hour to talk about legal accounting and bookkeeping complaints that Law Society looks out or has brought in as regulations from their compliance part of it. So I will be walking you through how it starts with the bookkeeping part of it and goes to the compliance. But we'll also talk about a little bit on client intake, but just for an example, the last 10 minutes when I'm going to be doing some document generation. But precisely the next 40 minutes is going to be presentation. I will talk about the importance of accounting and bookkeeping. As Michael requested, it's going to be more of a legal accounting class. So I take this opportunity to introduce what Law Society has stated on its rule books. So we will, if there's any questions, there is a chat window. Michael, I believe they're all logged in through your screen. So if they have any questions, they can post to you and I can take it in the end, or however it works, you can email me and I can respond to whatever works best for all of us. But the session's going to be 1 hour, so 40 minutes of presentation and 10 minutes of about showing you how it works on the platform. I'll take a live example, and maybe the last 10 minutes I'll open the floor for discussion.
Okay, no problem. If there's any question, I can let you know.
Absolutely. So uLaw is a wholesome legal practice management software that allows any legal practitioner using it to start with a client intake to complete with a compliance for Law Society. So this is not just with uLaw, any legal practice management solution should allow you, but why uLaw in specific? So there are several reasons, but I would just like to quote about the legal accounting aspect of it. As we being a Canadian software, we have nailed it with all the Law Society across Canada for the regulations and compliances that needs to be covered by a paralegal or a lawyer, both in fact, and focusing more with their practice management aspect of it. While I also talk about legal accounting, a paralegal is also required to do many other things, let's say with about court forms and about maintaining their client files and in their database, etc. So what we're going to see is a complete walkthrough of what happens in a paralegal's office or in a lawyer's office where you'll be assisting them. And as part of today's agenda, I will be talking about what are the important documents that you need to keep in your database for your clients as well as for your office. There are few documents that are to be lined out here if you are making a note of it. I would say on top of everything would be these 8 documents, starting with the ledgers, the trust and the general ledgers, where all the client data that involves trust bank accounts and general bank accounts respectively is where the transactions are recorded, is brought to your brought in front of you with all the transactions that is, you know, maybe showing all the retainers into trust or all the disbursement that passes out of your trust or general respectively. So the trust and general ledgers are to be maintained respectively for the clients that you're intaking and the files or matters that you are probably working on, and that has the transactions that goes through both of these ledgers respectively. And that's followed by the 4 journals. You have payment journals, you have receivable journals, and you also will have the same for one set in trust and one set in general. So that gives you 4 set of documents, or 4 count of documents, and followed by reconciliation, which would be the 7th document. When I mean reconciliation, that includes both trust and general, so that makes it 7th and the 8th document. So these are the 8 documents that Law Society says you will have to produce on a monthly basis for your practice. And there are a few more, which is like 9, 10, and 11. That includes fee book, trust transfers, when done electronically, that is called the Complaince documents, like Form 9A, or deposit slips when you're using cash deposits, and also expense book, etc. So the top 8 documents consist of 2 ledgers, 4 journals, 2 reconciliation documents, followed by 3 to 4 other Complaince documents that includes a fee book, expense book, Form 9A, deposit slips, etc. Now, we all know that this terminology, even though they're familiar to us, how do we make it work? How am I going to do a ledger? How am I going to do a journal? That's why we constructed a program where the debits and credits are effectively taken care of if your data entry is in a timely manner entered into the program. But let's say when you have a client walking into your office and you're doing a client intake, you have to make sure that the client is recorded in the system, followed by the due diligence that's involved in there, because bookkeeping is not only about keeping your accounts in place. Of course it is, but before that, there needs to be a foundation laid strong where you have the client information and the client intake completed, and a file or a matter is opened in the program in order to create accounting information for them respectively. So it all depends on how seamlessly you get this done, whether you spend 10 minutes doing it or whether you spend 3 hours per week doing it. It totally depends on how disciplined you are with in terms of recording the data. And that is why using a legal accounting software like uLaw, which is again Canadian, and also pinpointing the Law Society compliance is taken care within the program for you, have everything covered under it. You are just going to concentrate on getting things in order and have the benefits of legal accounting software doing the rest of the work for you. The accounting system, basically, we all know, works with double entry method. And when we all in school used our own paper pen method, or when we grew a little older, when we went into schools, colleges, universities, we started using better technology or better format of recording information, doing our exercises, use spreadsheets, use general accounting softwares, and it kept evolving over a period of time. And when uLaw, as a legal practice management solution, came up with even better method of getting the double entry system implemented into a legal accounting software, where you not only concentrate on doing a client's intake, but we went one step ahead and said that when you do a client's intake, you will also initially start recording the work you're doing. And that is where the docketing system came into place. So eventually, when you docket a client for the work that you do, it's got to be billed. And how are you going to be billing them? Are you going to be billing them based on the time you have spent, or based on a flat rate that you have probably agreed upon in your retainer agreement or in a retainer letter or a contract, whatever specifically you have exchanged with your client? So it starts with docketing, then moves on to invoicing, and then goes on to collecting either a payment into your general account from the client or receiving a retainer into a trust. And then it goes on with the double entry system, because when you raise an invoice, the AR or accounts receivable gets created, and there needs to be a payment that needs to be recorded against that AR that was raised, or the invoice that was raised and AR that was created, if I should be saying. That is when the double entry gets fulfilled with a payment that goes against it. So there's a debit for the credit, and you have the same recorded in the program that will allow you to generate documents such as ledgers and journals. So find the right model. Once you're all out of school, probably you're going to be assisting a lawyer, or you're going to be starting your own firm as a paralegals, and you're going to be probably looking for a program. Try to narrow down based on your search, based on the money that you're ready to spend, and also, most importantly, something that keeps you compliant with Law Society, because the first 18 months of your practice is very crucial. I'm not trying to scare you, but it's definitely important to keep up with our Law Society compliance. So that is why I took up this presentation when Michael mentioned that legal accounting is part of your syllabus. So I wanted to talk about how important it is to record the information right from docketing for a client to invoicing on time to collecting a retainer or a client payment and recording them into the system. So that will allow you to generate the respective ledgers and journals that you need for Law Society compliances. Doesn't stop there, but it goes on to further down with reconciling the books with your bank statements. And in order to do that, your data entered into the program should be very accurate in terms of the date on which the payment came in, or the date on which the disbursement was made, if you're making some disbursement towards an application fee for your client, or if you're making a disbursement towards a photocopy for your client. So whatever it is, whether the money that comes in or the money that goes out needs to be, could be even trust transfer, right? We all know that when you receive money into trust as a retainer, eventually you docket your client for the work that is done, invoice them, trust transfer from trust account to general account. So that is also removing money from trust. So you have money received into trust, and you have money that goes out of trust, needs to have a proper record for the transaction, and it needs to match with your bank statements. When I mean match with the bank statements, the accuracy of data is very important here. So there could be a transaction that happened on 30th of June, and probably you recorded it in uLaw on 1st of June. But you have to ensure that you backdate it to 30th of June because it actually occurred on 30th of June as per your bank statement, because your bank statements cannot be false. At the max, there could be some bank error, but 99.99% your banks cannot be wrong. So your financial institutions rather cannot go wrong. So you will have to match it with your books. So matching your books with the bank reconciliation statement is about reconciling your books. I'll come to that in detail in the next slide, but let's talk about the 8 documents, which of course includes the reconciliation in the end. So the first 6 are about the ledgers and the journals. So there are 2 ledgers, trust and general respectively, as you all see in front of my screen or in front of your screen. It talks about what does a client's trust ledger and a client's general ledger carry? What kind of information gets produced or generated here in order to give it to law society or for your own books, maintaining records, or to give it to a client? A client can walk in and say, I'd like to see my trust in general. What happened in my trust in general? I'd like to know how much I paid you into trust, and I'd like to know how much I paid into general. So uLaw has a combination of documents that just generates one PDF and gives you a combination of both trust and general. When I'm into the program, I will certainly show you that. But coming back to it, what are ledgers? And what does it take to maintain them? Like I said, it's very simple data entry, and receipts come under retainers if it's trust, or client payments if it is general, and disbursements are probably the debits that goes from trust or general respectively. So every transaction, both receipts and disbursements, needs to be recorded in one or both the ledgers, because it could happen either from trust or it could happen from general. You never know, right? As in, you never know in the sense, there could be some that happens from trust. Some clients prefer paying into trust, or you might prefer getting money before you start work because you don't, for some reason, want to take a chance. What if the work is done and the client is not available to pay you later? So some lawyers, paralegals I interact with on a daily basis tells me that, oh, Gayatri, I prefer getting payments into a trust, because in spite of having 100 rules for trust to maintain complaints, people still prefer maintaining trust because the money is with you ultimately. You could finish your work, as in when you finish the work, you can bill your client and get the money out of your trust. That's really a nice way to bring the money on time to you, rather than finishing the work and, invoicing the client and getting the money into general. But there are both types of people who prefer, some people don't even have a trust account. They just stick to general account. So it's completely at your discretion and your comfort. So whatever it is, the receipts and disbursements needs to be recorded in one of the both ledgers. Each ledger has a running balance by the date, as you see here on this, screenshots. There's one left side and one on the right-hand side. The one on the left-hand side is the trust ledger, and the one on the right-hand side is general ledger. There are some similarities between both. If you see like date, particulars, probably the balance, but there are some differences too. So I'll just quickly go through them with you. When you take a trust ledger, let's talk about the one on the left-hand side. It always refers to one client at a time. So if you see, there are two accounts here, one for Kirby, that is Kim regarding loan to Taylor. Kirby is the client, and Kim regards loan to Taylor is the matter title or a file name that you're probably giving here. And the second one you see here is Piper. Peter regards corporate. Basically, Peter it's a corporate matter that we have come up with here in an example. And you can very clearly see there are receipts and disbursements here. What money came into trust and what money went out of trust, with a running balance beside it. Now, when you take a trust ledger, a client's trust ledger, of course, it gets populated for a specific period that you're looking for, but it comes up for all the clients. You can also do it individually for a client by going into that respective matter and just pulling up a statement for that single client. You can do it both the ways. Okay? So receipt and the corresponding disbursement, if you have disbursed anything, with a running balance is what you see in the client's trust ledger. Most importantly, you will not see a disbursement before receipt, because you need some money in trust for this client in order to disperse. So you cannot record this date vice versa. It cannot be, right now you see August 30th as a receipt mortgage advance and August 31st as transfer to Taylor, which is a disbursement of $40,000. I could not reverse it. I could not make it as a 31st of August for mortgage and 30th of August for a transfer, because I first of all need to have the money in my account or in your trust account in order to disperse it. Ends up with a balance. So you know that the running balance on 30th of August is $40,000, followed by 31st of August, which is zero because you've dispersed it. Now come to the right-hand side. You see there's client's general ledger. It starts off with a date, very similar to the other one. Particulars, where you get to see whether it was an invoice or whether it was anything to do with, client's fee or disbursement, whatever it is. You have the respective particulars, followed by any expenses incurred on behalf of the client, which is disbursements, because mostly disbursements are done from general, unless it is some actuals like court filing fee or some trust payouts that are allowed by law society for you to do it. Otherwise, mostly it's all incurred in general. So that's why general ledger specifically has a column that says expenses on behalf of the client, followed by the fees as well as the HST. So the ledger very clearly bifurcates your fees before HST and the balance, which is your fees total with the HST. So 100 plus 13, 113 is what the client owes them. And on July the 22nd, the client has made payment for this invoice. So the respective debit or AR now has a corresponding credit, which is $113 payment from the client. All right. So this is about maintaining a ledger, trying to make the data entry on the respective dates with the particulars and the corresponding amounts, as well as the other invoice details. Very important to even record the transaction numbers. There are some fields in uLaw that will not allow you to proceed if you're not able to generate a transaction number. Of course, we can get away with it saying not applicable, NA, or a fake number, but Law Society requires you to give a transaction receipt number. That is how stringent they are, and that's how stringent we are too, because we want to help you. We want to help you be compliant with the Law Society. So the program doesn't allow you to do something that Law Society doesn't allow you to do. So that's about the ledgers. I hope you all got the essence of it. Moving on to journals. We're talking about the second set of documents, that is probably 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. So I was talking about 8 documents, of which, repeating again, 2 of them are ledgers, 1 being trust ledger, 1 being general ledger, and the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th are the journals. That is for the trust receipt journal, trust disbursement journal, general receipt journal, general disbursement journal, and the 7th and 8th documents are the reconciliation, which is trust and general respectively. So now we are in journals. We're talking about the receipts and disbursements journal, and you're going to see how is it recorded and what takes it, what kind of work you would need to do to maintain them. So journals are records of a single type of activity, either receipt or disbursement. While we saw in the ledger, it had or has both receipts and disbursements. In this one here, you're going to drill down further into separate journals that talks about receipts, disbursements in trust, and receipts and disbursements in general. Totally 4 different documents. They're not linked with each other, but ultimately they can be for the same client. A same client can have a trust receipt journal when you generate it because they have paid a retainer. And the same client will also be mentioned on the trust disbursement journal because the amount was later dispersed from the trust account. The same way goes for general also. So journals are basically a record that shows the method of payments, as you all see, whether it was a check or whether it was a credit card payment or a e-transfer, whatever was the method of payment, followed by the purpose of funds, whether this client paid it for as a retainer or for any other trust deposits, or is it a settlement payment that came into trust for this client, so on and so forth. So basically recording the nature or the purpose of funds, who was it received from, whether it was received from a legal aid or whether it was received from an insurance company as part of a settlement payment, because there are SABs, there are other family law, etc., where there can be settlement funds coming in. So what was the purpose of the funds and method of payment? So these are some minor data captured, I would say very less importance, least importance that's given by many legal professionals, but Law Society again emphasizes on it and says that, sorry, I need the purpose. I need to know whether it was a retainer paid to you or whether it was a other trust deposit, whatever it is. So again, jotting down, journals shows you the receipt and the disbursement separately. That is why, as you see on the left-hand side and right-hand side, you see left-hand side trust, right-hand side general, as you see here on the screen. The left-hand side talks about what came into trust and what went out of trust in 2 different documents altogether. It's trust receipt journal that shows you only receipts from either the client or receipts into trust, let's put it that way. And the one below that talks about trust disbursement journal, which is the money that went out of trust. Could be for transfer from trust to general, could be for any settlement payout from trust to the client, could be for any other trust payout. Like, you will have several options. Maybe you're refunding a retainer to the client or refunding the balance amount to the client. Could be any reason, but the purpose and the money who paid it to or who it got paid from, amount, etc., is very important to be recorded. And that is what journal shows you, and that is what Law Society wants as part of the 4 important documents in their compliances. So far, any questions before I proceed with the next slide, which is going to talk about reconciliation of trust? Michael, I hope I was not too fast or confusing. I would certainly appreciate if there's any question or feedback. I can pause for a quick minute. So just wanted to ensure.
So far, there is no question. However, this content that you talked about, we saw it before. They have seen it, the order of the documents. They have seen it. I mean, like they are familiar.
Got it.
Yeah, some of them thank you anyway. They don't have questions, but thank you for asking. You can go on.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you so much. So the next set of documents, that is 7th and 8th one that I'm talking here about, the 7th one precisely, is reconciliation of trust. And I know the word by itself is pretty, sometimes it's a little jittery for a lot of us trying to reconcile our books, our banks especially. And trust is one such, because it's not ultimately your money, but it's your client's money that is lying in your trust. and you want to make sure that you have recorded every piece of information there so appropriately, so accurately that matches with your financial institution. So in this accounting procedure that demonstrates your transactions that are recorded properly or correct in a correct manner, you will have to ensure that you make a timely manner of data entry. Most of the times, like I already mentioned, there is a tendency to forget that I know I'm at the back of my mind, I'm recording it for 28th of June, but when I'm doing it on 2nd of July, I would forget to change the date, and I would keep proceeding further with my other transactions, thinking that, okay, I'm doing everything fine, everything correct, until you go to the reconciliation tab to click on reconciliation to find out only that you did not record it for the right date. So whatever you wanted to record as per your financial institution as on 28th of June is sitting in 2nd July, and you figured it out on 20th of July, because before 25th of the month, you should reconcile for 30th of the June, for example, and you figured it out only on 20th of July. And by the time you have to go back into your books to find out each and every transaction and edit items. So this is one of the major reasons I recommend all my clients to do the data entry at least by end of the day. I know it's too much to ask, too much to do after one whole day of work is done, but eventually, trust me, that will get you into a habit of weekly reconciliations also sometimes. You would be that fast, you would be that accurate and precise that will urge you to do a weekly reconciliation when Law Society only wants you monthly reconciliations. So that is the kind of habit we recommend our clients, because end of the day, you would definitely not forget today's date. So there could be no chance that you would record it wrong. So try and get the data entered, the money that comes in, the money that gets billed, the money that goes out of your trust or general respectively. Try to record them on a timely manner. That is step number one. That is the most preliminary step. If you've got that right, trust me, guys, your reconciliation is a cakewalk. You're just going to get it done. You're not even going to think about going back, changing dates, or doing anything else. Okay? So besides that, what does this activity consist of? We've divided it into 4 steps, as you see here on the screenshot or on the presentation that is in front of you. Step number 1, get the balance as per your bank statement. That is very important. So quickly print out your bank statement or go online. We are trying to go less printing these days or no printing these days. So just log into your online bank, look at the balance as per, let's assume you're doing it for 30th of June. So look at the balance as per bank statement and enter that in your program as balance as per bank statement under reconciliation. Once you do that, all your outstanding checks, outstanding deposits needs to be identified under the list of items that you will be seeing in your screen. I'll certainly walk you through that in the next 5 minutes. And once you do that, you are going to be able to identify all your outstanding that is uncleared, that is not cleared this month rather, that's going to be kept outstanding. You're going to leave the transactions as it is because somebody has not deposited the check for the vendor you gave it to, or you have a check in your drawer that you've forgotten to deposit. So those are outstanding, right? So the outstanding checks and outstanding deposits need to be, not clicked on, or it may not be as part of the reconciliation. Basically, they need to be identified and set aside then there could have been a couple bank errors here and there. The bank could have charged you for a e-transfer fee while they should have charged you in the general account, because no bank charges rather should go through trust. That's a standing instruction given by all legal practitioners to their banks, saying that you cannot access my trust account for any bank charges. So that was a bank error, as you see in the picture here. Make sure you've added the bank error, and then you will arrive at your reconciliation at the bottom with what is available in the trust compared to what is available in the bank. That is what you see on the fourth step. Now, what is on the second and the third? The second one shows you the outstanding checks that we already kept beside. And the step 3 shows the client trust listing, saying that if you have $40,000 in your bank, now these are the clients that has amount sitting in trust for, right? So it shows you the balance as per bank statement, rather once you enter it reconciled, minus the trust deposits, minus the outstanding checks, plus the outstanding deposits, plus the bank error gives you the reconciled trust balance. And everything that comes in the following page are details of this reconciliation statement. So the recording of outstanding checks and deposits and bank errors, if any, is very important in order to reconcile. As much as you record the data with accuracy and time, it is also important to remember what is outstanding and ensure that whether this check has been recorded in the program, but it's not tossed in your bank or cleared in your bank. So it goes as part of uncleared. So you need to maintain a track of your uncleared checks and deposits, followed by any client trust listing is also shown in that document that gets generated. And lastly, you're able to compare your trust in the program with that of the bank balance. That's all what is reconciliation about. And trust me, it's a similar process for general, minus the bank errors, because there couldn't be any bank errors in general, as there's no such restrictions there. Now, moving on to the other complaints documents, I think the last few slides that I have here, I'm just going to quickly wrap it up in about 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever I can, and move on to show you in the program quickly a few entries, and I'll open the floor for discussion. What is a fee book? We actually spoke about other documents that includes fee book, Form 9A, that is Ontario's trust request or trust transfer form for electronic fund transfers, and that's Form 9A, and also some other documents that's needed by Law Society, like expense book, deposit slips, etc. So fee book is definitely a very important one, as much as your journals and ledgers are. It records all the invoices and disbursements for a specific period of time that you're looking for, and how it has been recovered from the client, whether it was whether the money was moved from trust to general, or whether the client paid you into general directly. So this fee book records right from the invoice number, as you see in the example at the bottom. It has the date on which you have raised an invoice with the invoice number, with the client information, the amount of fees billed, if there's any disbursement along with it, and whether it has HST or PST, GST, or no taxes, followed by the total for that invoice. So a fee book also demonstrates other details, such as of course, if you have added the clients, any client having any information such as the regards matter, you could also have them entered in the fee book with that's beside the client details. And precisely this shows you the fees that is other than your other income. So this is only related to your legal fee. Hence it's titled as fee book. Shows you there could be any other income. You could receive notary income. You could have other income, maybe a rental income, maybe an interest income, any other income. But this fee book shows you, or shows rather to Law Society, what was your fees that was generated for the specific period. So this also shows you clearly how much of HST you have received and how much you owe to the government. Of course, there are other documents such as HST receivable payable within the program that shows you clearly HST that in fact you have paid for on your expenditures. So that knocks down or knocks off with your receipts that you received under the fee. So fee book records all invoices and disbursements raised as invoices to be recovered from clients. It records invoice numbers which clients were billed for and associated taxes that were collected. And a sample of fee book is just as what you see at the bottom. And trust me, these are all auto-generated documents if your data entered into that specific client's file is accurate, matching to your bank or financial institution. Now, what are the other compliance documents that we were talking about, something like Form 9A and deposit slips? So in Ontario, when you have money sitting in trust and you are billing a client for the legal fee and disbursement, which is what we saw in the fee book, right? So as per the invoice, you are moving the funds from your trust account to your general account electronically. Let's say you want to keep things electronic and you're avoiding using checks for some reason, and you made an electronic fund transfer of money from trust to general for this client for the work that you have done. So you're now eligible to move the funds from trust to general account. So what Law Society of Ontario says is you're completely free to do that, but I want you to generate a document that you see on the first left-hand side here that says Form 9A Electronic Trust Transfer Requisition Form. Now, many times this is available online. People download and enter things manually, but uLaw has a one-click button upon you completing this trust transfer in the program. Just have to simply click on Form 9A download, and you are able to download a Form 9A, which is a supporting document for electronic trust transfer requisition. The same applies to cash deposit slips. Upon you receiving cash from the client, you need to enter the number of notes or the details or the breakup of cash that you've received, as you see in the second document here at the bottom from the left-hand side, followed by other documents such as verification of identity, that is client ID verification form, and duplicate cash receipts. So these are some documents that Law Society necessarily, Form 9A is very important, but the other documents like deposit slips, client ID verification, they form part of client matter management complaints. More than accounting, these are matter management complaints documents. So you will eventually have to maintain them, whether it's accounting or matter management, there is still compliance there. Now, coming to the point where how can we do this seamlessly? I know we're all looking for saving time. The 5 minutes that I get, I want to maximize it so that I could do at least 5 different things in 5 minutes. That's the kind of world that we're all living in today. At least that's what I've been doing. So how do we do this very seamlessly? There are options like I already mentioned at the beginning. You could go for a paper pen method. You could go for a normal spreadsheet method, or you could go for a simple accounting program, or even precisely to maximize the best, you go for a legal accounting software, because the program knows where and how the details are maintained, and you need to know what records to touch, when to touch, and what to record. And that is what needs to be maintained from you for us to give you the outputs. Sometimes the same information is recorded several times if you're trying to do it yourself, right? Like I would be recording the same information in a ledger and then in a journal. It's too confusing. But when you allow us to do it, I just need you to enter the information at one point where I will bifurcate it myself into a journal, into a ledger, into a fee book, into an invoice, into several other documents that you need. End of the day, even your reconciliation flows in from that. So that is the kind of seamless process that we all recommend you as a future paralegals to opt for. And practitioners are so used to matter management. So translating matter management, that is doing a docketing or keeping your, let's say, any other client ID verification, etc., all the process handy to, kind of save time, prevent errors, and making reconciliation simple is the idea of translating matter management workflow to seamless accounting. Now, again, what makes reconciliation simple? When we spoke in a couple of slides before, I said recording data when the event happened is very important, right? On that day, on eve of that day, on the evening, in the evening or in the night, try and do it within the few hours so there should not be, any method that will stop you from reconciling data very simply. And automatically maintaining ledgers and journals of matters, workflow keeps accounting data and bank records very close, which means there could barely be any difference unless and until you have made any other mistakes or you've missed to record something, right? So that allows me to talk about benefits of a legal accounting software. So underline when I say that many of them using other programs that are common accounting softwares that are not recommended by Law Society or that are not probably approved by Law Society. So a legal accounting software is definitely approved by Law Society. There are a lot of platforms that compare for you. There are Gartner, there are Sourceforge. You can go see uLaw has been compared to many other platforms. So you could make sure recording events when and as they happen here, because it will allow you to do a client intake and then create a matter, do the docketing, invoicing, accounting, reconciling, doing the journals, ledgers, complaints, so on and so forth. I can keep going on. So recording financial records and bank records as close as possible makes reconciliation a simple task when you have a legal accounting software. Finally, coming to the key point on what you will have to remember, or ask me if I have to take away something from the session. Trust me, it's all about compliance, accountability, analytics, and ease of use. So why would you need a program? Why can I not simply do in an Excel spreadsheet is what is ease of use. I could save that $40 or $30, but you are rather going to be spending more time doing it yourself and losing $200 where you could have worked on some other file at that time. So that's what I always tell my clients. Try to be accurate. keep the compliance and accountability in with ease of use. That way you're trying to get done with what you needed to. Lastly, I know you're all going to be paralegal soon. So when you are ready, once you have your own firm set up, in future, one of the times when you're ready, so sign up. You have a free 30-day trial where I would be able to walk you through the program in detail, give you what suits you, and recommend what's best for you. All right, so I'm left out with almost 8 minutes of this session. I would like to quickly draw your attention to our program. So here's our program. Do you all see my screen? Any questions? I have exactly 7 minutes remaining. I'd like to walk you through how the documents are generated, how the accounting is done. So quickly, what you see here on the left-hand side are more of the entry points to the respective tabs. So when I go into contacts, I can create a client, and when I create a client, I can open a file for them. But creating a client also talks about a lot of complaints, which is under the document generation, which I don't want to elaborate too much, but this program even covers law society complaints, documents for a client management. Then once you're done with the complaints part of it, then you proceed with opening a file. And when you open a file, you will have to give the details of the client, what did they approach you for, like the matter information. While that is done, you go about docketing this client by adding an event or by using a clock system that's available here, or by simply doing a scratch pad from a calendar. So when all of this is done, this is how your docket is going to look like. And when your docket is here, you are going to do an invoice. But before you do an invoice, you thought maybe let me add a couple of disbursements. Let me enter the retainer that the client gave me. So all of those are over here. So you've entered the retainer that the client gave me as clicking on the new retainer, entering the details, the date on which the client gave, remember the date. And then the amount that the client paid you, then the method of payment, remember all those that we discussed on the journal. So let me simply show you. Let's say this client paid me a $500 retainer. The method of payment was an email transfer. Let's enter quickly to show you how it shows on a journal. Okay, and then you could also issue a receipt and apply. So now when I did this, I go into accounts to simply create a trust journal. So monthly complaints. So here's a client's trust receipt journal. Remember the 4 documents we were talking about? The first 2 ledgers, the next 4 journals, and then the other documents that come here. So when I go to trust, and then I go into, let's say today, what I entered today, and I want to download, I want to show you the $500 that I just recorded. There could be something else I did this morning too, another 500, but the one that I just recorded as an email transfer with the reference number CAGH0765 over here. So now this is the trust receipt journal that has all the source received from the purpose. Remember the purpose. This is a retainer, okay? And then the method of payment, etc. So that's a live example of how I could get the document to you within seconds. And remember I said this program allows you to create a trust in general. If this client, Karen, came to me and said, I'd like to know what I paid into trust till date and what was taken out of my trust till date, how can I show that in one simple PDF? This is it. Client's trust account, client's general account. Both the ledgers combined here on the top, trust and general ledger. These are the first 2 important documents that Law Society asks you for. I want to know how much this client paid you in trust, how much did you transfer out of trust or remove from trust, and where did that money go? Okay, it went into the general, I can see here, and then eventually come down, there's another 500 that I just recorded, that is also over here. So that is the kind of document that you are required to produce, and that's the kind of details that you will have to drill down into for preparing your Law Society compliances and to keep your books, to keep your accounting up to date. Now, lastly, if you go into accounts, this is where you see the end of your bookkeeping, where all the Law Society compliances are maintained here, right from the trust general ledgers, the journals, 4 journals, and the other documents. So remember the Form 9A? This shows me all the trust transfer that I did today. For Karen, I've already transferred $500. I did not do anything else today. It's just the $500. So if I quickly go into Karen's file, you will see that I have removed $500 in my trust account. Withdraw from trust, $500. And what did I do? I did a trust transfer for this $500. You see, that is why I was able to print this electronic trust transfer requisition form. All right, so there are examples. And one last thing, I know I'm saying one last thing for the past 5 minutes, but I just want to show you, as paralegals, you are all not just inclined towards accounting or maintaining the books, but it's also practice management. It's ultimately how you manage your practice. So how efficiently, how effectively, how easily you all do it. So that is why uLaw introduced this particular tab that talks about code forms, that produces code forms for you, right from small claims. If you give out all your plaintiff, defendants, etc., and your additional parties, you would be able to quickly see how it works. So you're able to add your defendant here. Let's say Aaron Lewis was my defendant. And then when you do a code form, small claims, additional party, my client is my client is a plaintiff, but defendant details already there. So you could make sure to enter all the details here and then download the code form for your later references. So of course for use too. So this is the kind of information that we have provided to you. Of course, I didn't have my plaintiff details here entered, but this just gets generated if Michael Smith or Aaron Lewis here had other details. I probably picked a wrong file, but I'm just letting you know that the program also helps you with code forms. So end of the day, this will be a one-stop solution for you. And when you decide to go out of your school and do a practice on your own, you also get a new entrepreneur pricing. So if you are a student and you'd like to use this, you also have student accounts that we can give you. I leave it to Michael and his team to decide that, but I hope the last 1 hour was at least useful enough for you to know the importance of accounting and bookkeeping and Law Society compliances as part of your legal practice management. I think I've come to an end, Michael, because I'm almost 1 minute off my time. So I'd like to stop here and ask if any of them have any questions. I'd be happy to repeat it. Please do let me know.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much, Gayatri. I mean, that was, I mean, it shows a lot from the program. First of all the documents that are required from the Law Society are there, and then how easy you can print it right there. We
That's
have
right.
it.
That's right.
There are a lot of students that says that they have no questions. Does anybody have any question? This is the moment related with a software that can integrate. It have been quite clear. Everybody, thank you for the presentation. they don't have a question at this time. And but again, it is very good that you came and you presented this software that from the more or less 8 documents that you need in order to be in compliance with the Law Society, just in a tip of a button, you can print it, you can have it at all time, and that's the help, that's the real value of the software. Is there any contract if someone wants your service? They have any contract, or is paid month by month?
They can go month by month. There is no contract here. They can choose a new entrepreneur or a student package. We can negotiate student packages definitely, and a new entrepreneur is as low as $34 plus taxes. These are Canadian dollars. And new entrepreneur, there's no further discount. So mostly people start monthly, Michael. And I mean, some of them are experienced, so they would want to do yearly to save more. But as paralegals, I'm talking to them, being new entrepreneurs, they are looking at probably $34 plus taxes a month in their first year.
Yeah, no.
After that,
Anyway,
yeah.
The price is so low. I mean, for the capabilities of this program and everything that you can do is, yes. When you have a busy practice and you can do all this, this is almost nothing. And another question: let's suppose someone get deep. The program is working with the software for 2 years, but one day believe another person that have another program. Can you export all the data from this program to other programs?
Absolutely. There's an export option that's available, and they can export at any time. There's an export option that's available for clients. There's an export option that's available for matters, which is files, that's open for them. And there's an export option available for accounting for all the documents that you can generate too.
Okay, that is great to know. I mean, there is almost no risk.
Talking about the positive aspect of it, there's also all means for us to import the data too. So we have a migration team, we have our bookkeeping team. We are based out of Canada for everything. So completely local, and our safety and security is pretty high, more like a bank-like security. So the imports are also on a positive side, very simple and easy. That's being done by our migration team.
Okay, because that's one of our questions, because the Law Society also, it is so important for the Law Society, the security of all the data that we use. And saying something before that this program was approved by the Law Society. Can you explain that?
That's right. This program is approved by Law Society at various provinces, starting with Ontario, British Columbia, New Brunswick, and Alberta was our recent one. And yes, we have been compared to many other programs. They could probably go on, like I said, just go to Google and type uLaw versus, Law Society complaint, etc. So they would know that this is a program that, like I said, has complaints right from adding a client, which is a basic thing to do, is to do a conflict check, and to going into matter and creating a docket. What would I need to do? There's a Law Society complaints for every aspect of it, like a client management, a matter management, a financial management. So these are the 3 major aspects, and all these 3 major aspects are already complied with Law Society. So why not? Law Society is very happy, and they say, oh my God, this is all what a legal practitioner needs to get started with and to get going too. So why not? You guys are actually approved. So we are approved at these 4 provinces, and we are getting more in the pipeline. So you would be hearing about uLaw more as years pass by.
That is a great news. Great news, as it's important to know that the Law Society approved it. The Law Society is aware,
Yes.
because that endorsement of the Law Society, it is like a backup in terms of liability. If something,
Yeah.
something happen in the future, also is another
Yeah.
backup. I have a question.
Not just that, also adding to it, we have a lot of clients who faced audits with Law Society, and the auditors also personally, there were a couple instances where they have recommended uLaw because they know that probably we have all the compliances covered in the program, and that uLaw does not allow you to make any mistakes unless you forge, even then, unless you unknowingly do it, then there could be a way, but most likely there's high competence level in terms of compliance here.
Okay, perfect. I have another question here from one of the students. Does the monthly payment include technical support?
Yes, you would love it. You should again check all the reviews online for us. Our technical support and our client success support has been very helpful for many of them. Get started, especially as a new entrepreneur, because there's going to be totally too many things as a new entrepreneur, right from scratch, setting up your bank accounts to finding new clients to setting up your technical stuff like, your emails, your logo, your other things. But we, on the other hand, as a practice management software, take extra care of new entrepreneurs. Go tell them that, hey, why don't you send us your logo? Why don't you send us your letterhead? We'll make a banner for you in uLaw program and upload it. And we'll help you with your first month reconciliation. We'll help you with data entry whenever you need help. So I don't want to, advertise here saying that, we do all of this, but this is what we do to help you get up to speed as a new entrepreneur. And I think these are the times that you need help, and we will always be there. And it's not just a new entrepreneur. At every stage of it, you will have some kind of support needed once a month, twice a month, thrice a month. You never know. But whenever you need it, we do have a lot of help that when you click on help, there's something called uLaw Answers, there's something called uLaw Tutorials, there's something called Search uLaw Answers, where you just put in a keyword saying, I want to know how to invoice client. Just put in the keywords and the top videos will show up how to raise an invoice, how to reverse an invoice. Worst case, if you're not able to find it here, then we recommend our clients, hey, click on email uLaw support. Send us an email. What is the reason you are reaching us for? When do you want us to reach us? Next 1 hour. What is the email? Give me your phone number. And then I will you can submit this, and I will, as in my team, my firm, one of them will reach out to you and help you resolve the issue.
Okay, in other words, you are there not only at the beginning, but at any time, because that is
throughout.
I have seen great programs that there is one day that there are problems with that, and then there is nobody on the other side of the phone to help you when you need it. Then you are there.
Trust me, I still talk to my 12-year-old client like I talk to my prospective client. So as in when I mean my firm, my team. For us, a prospective client and a client who's been with us from the beginning is typically the same.
Okay.
Right? So, yes.
Okay, perfect. And then just something that is very important. This program is cloud-based, which means
that's right.
that you can access to this program from any computer, from your phone, from a tablet, in any part of the world, 24 hours a day, every day of the year. Is that right?
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Michael. Since it was a 1-hour session, I focused more on the accounting aspect of it. I should have spoken about this. Thank you for that.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Yes, this is a cloud-based program. This can be used on a this is used on a web browser. It's not a desktop, so that gives you ease of accessing. You can see I've logged in through my Google Chrome, right? You see I'm on Google Chrome. I'm using my tab here along with my other tabs. You see here, uLaw is there. You could so there's nothing to be on your desktop. You can access from anywhere, and you will just need to make sure that you have strong internet and you're using one of the web browsers like Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, Safari, or Mozilla Firefox, one of these that empowers you to use a web-based app. And it's not just on your laptop or your computer, but it can also be on your iPad if you're using a browser and you can just log in, or it could be on your phone where you can download the phone app for both iOS and Android. And that completely enables you to do it anywhere while you're on road, while you're traveling anywhere, and you're in court, but you've not carried your laptop, but you want to quickly docket somebody. The ease of use is definitely much better with a cloud-based solution like this program.
Perfect. Just one of the last question. The Law Society also is a requirement that we, as licensees, we back up the information all the time. Does this program have that feature that I can send all the time, back up my information to wherever I want to store it?
Your data is backed up in our server, cloud-based. So you could also keep, like say, a physical copy of data backed up by, like I said, there's an export option everywhere for the date range. Let's say every month you're doing a backup, you can do that, and it should be fine. But besides that, like I said, our program has a bank-like security and safety. So we have our own methods to keep a backup of your data. So we do that every day, in fact. So there should be no worries about the data backed up.
Okay. That is important in terms of requirements of the Law Society. I guess that all are there. And now I want to the last question. I'm gonna finish with this. I'm sure that you have heard about a program that is called PC Law. It's a very old program, but however, in a lot of lawyers' offices, is very helpful because mainly, it's helpful for so many things. But one of them is when lawyers have to work and has to invoice legal aid. That is a very important feature to have. Does uLaw have those type of invoices and those capabilities to deal with legal aid that is complicated?
Yeah. Do you see in front of your screen?
Yeah.
There's legal. Yeah. So for every matter, there is document generation. If you're not doing a normal invoice, you could go into document generation. There's report legal aid, and you could do a legal aid billing here.
Okay. And then the last question, perfect. And then I'm sure that you have the three main forms for legal aid, 15-8, and some others that are important in order to avoid back and forth, right? I'm sure if you have that, you have the rest. Okay. And the last question, for example, for a paralegal, sometimes we have to make motions that are very long motions, right? Like very complicated. One of them, just for example, just to pick one, it may be a Section 11B, a charter application 11B on provincial offenses, right? Why 11B? Because the time that the administration of justice took to deal with my client was more than the average. What? Right? Can you show me here an 11B application for provincial offenses?
11, I can only see 11 application, but I do not see 11B application. But certainly, if it's not here, 11B is probably under construction, and we would have it in less than 2-3 weeks. But at the moment, what I have is certificate of parking infraction, which is Form 11.
Okay, and you don't have a shuttered application, section 11B?
I don't find
I mean,
section
that is
U.
so common in provincial offenses. I would bet $1 that you should have it. I mean, I don't imagine someone using this software for provincial offenses and you don't have application of 11B, because if I have to do it and the program is not going to give me like the sometimes hundred of pages that I have to do, then we have a problem.
Maybe
I
I'm
don't want to
not
put you on the
aware
spot,
of it. No,
here.
there's nothing like
I'm
that.
sorry to
honestly,
ask. I
Michael.
just wanted
No.
one example, right? Because that
Right.
may be a complicated one, and not only that, you have to send it to several places, and you need the phone numbers, the fax number of the places listed there.
Right.
Yes.
I could do one thing. I could check with my support team and send it to you.
Sorry, there is one student that says that maybe saw the form listed there under motion, notice of motion on POA. Notice of motions. Notice of motions. Notice
I don't
at the
see
bottom.
notice.
At the bottom.
Yeah, it's here. POA 0. Yeah. You would like to see this?
Bottom notice of motion.
Okay. Notice of motion. So it gets populated with all the details.
Yes,
and
that is the general form for motions. But you know what? I just pick one example. But I'm sure that if you don't have it, you will have it, because it's
I'm sure there would be. You're talking about Form 11B.
I am sure that it's there. I can bet $1.
I'll certainly check with my team and send you an email later tonight.
No,
so that you can.
okay. I mean, send it the email anyway, but it's just one example. And it's not only the information on 11B, but also the fax numbers that are important where you have to serve it, right? Because also I imagine that, for example, talking about provincial offenses, you have disclosure, right? Request for disclosure.
Right.
You should have a certificate of offense, early resolution, early
solution. Yeah, early resolutions there. I think disclosure and resolution letter is also here.
Affidavit. I'm sure that you should have request for disclosure and so on. So there are forms that you use. I mean, if you practice provincial offenses, you use it a lot. Okay, perfect. Again, thank you very much, for your explanation.
My pleasure.
Point of view. I guess that is very important, for the students to see a program. Not all the capabilities, this program have way more, but the accounting part, we could see it, and we really thank you very much. Okay, we'll keep in touch. But
absolutely. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you, everyone, for joining this evening. It was my pleasure doing this webinar for you all. I've recorded this session, and I'll be sharing this with Michael soon. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a great evening.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the 11 students that are present and me, thank you very much. Okay?
Great. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye now. Bye-bye.